Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Extra Points, a production of Delphi Bracketology in association with Student Union Sports. I'm Dave Gilbert, and I'm joined by junior Garrett Thompson this week. Last week, the upsets continued. Number 8 Washington State got blown out at Cal, and number 5 Washington lost at Arizona State. What did you take away from last week's games, Garrett?
Well, number 2 Clemson losing to Syracuse is a huge upset. This could potentially put them out of playoff contention. Clemson also lost starting quarterback Kelly Bryant due to a concussion. Now, number 8 Washington State got throat stomped by Cal's defense, turning the ball over 7 times and giving up 9 sacks. There's no way you can win a game with 7 turnovers. Now, moving on to my Arizona State Sun Devils, scoring their first drive, blocking a punt, and hitting a 52-yard field goal. They won a huge game and a hard-fought game in the desert. What a great week in college football.
As it is every week. It is now time for our weekly update from the Heisman Watch. For that, we send it to Jamison Connor.
Jamison Connor here to bring you the latest in the chase for the coveted Heisman Trophy. Saquon Barkley barely held on to his number 1 spot, with Penn State being in a bye week. The Nittany Lions face a crucial part of their season in the next 3 weeks with Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State. At number 2, Bryce Love wasted little time running for 147 yards on 17 carries and posting 2 touchdowns in Stanford's 49-7 rout of the Oregon Ducks. Baker Mayfield comes in at number 3 this week. He leads the nation in QB ratings and led his team to a 29-24 victory over Texas in the Red River Showdown. Minkah Fitzpatrick at number 4 led the Crimson Tide defense in holding their opponent to single digits for the 5th time this season by whipping Arkansas 41-9. Jonathan Taylor, a Wisconsin freshman running back, carried the Badgers to a victory over Purdue. Taylor has rushed for over 200 yards in 3 of 6 games so far. Just a note to keep an eye on J.T. Barrett, the Ohio State quarterback, was a contender at the beginning of the season. Could he be mounting a comeback? Time will tell. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Jameson. Bryce Love is really gaining steam in his Heisman campaign. Now, let's send it to Jonas Brown for the quote of the week.
Hello, my name is Jonas Brown, and I'm bringing the interesting quote of the week. One loss is good for the soul, too many losses is not good for the coach, by Knute Rockne.
Thanks, Jonas. Anytime you can have a quote from the legendary Knute Rockne, that's going to be a good quote. Now we send it to Colt Spangler to see who's on the hot seat this week.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with your coaching hot seat. This week, Butch Jones is on the coaching hot seat. He lost 41-0 to Georgia, and this week he lost 15-9 to South Carolina. It's really hard when you lose to an unranked team. I mean, it's the second time on the hot seat. I'm pretty sure it's time to go. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Colt. Now we'll send it to Joe Perry for the interesting fact of the week.
This is Joe Perry with your interesting fact. This fact comes from the USC Notre Dame rivalry. Throughout the years, the Irish have beat the Trojans 45 times, and the Trojans have beat the Irish 36 times.
Now for our questionable call of the week, we send it to Catherine Lang.
Hi, this is Catherine Lang with this week's questionable call of the week. This week it comes from Indiana versus Michigan this past Saturday. IU made it interesting and sent it into overtime just to let Michigan score on the first play. And then they took it down to the 1-yard line for a 1st and goal with chances to tie up the game. The first play was stuffed, and the plays after that were passing, consisting of having a right-handed quarterback roll out just to make it so you have to throw across your body on 4th and goal, and it got intercepted. What was IU thinking? Bad play calling might have cost the Hoosiers a big upset at home against the Wolverines.
Thanks, Catherine. I never understand why coaches call passing plays for a right-handed quarterback to roll left. Now let's send it to another new member, Jaden Roth, for our This Team's Bad segment.
Hi, I'm Jaden Roth, and this week we'll be talking about these teams are really bad. And first, we'll be starting off with the 2-5 Kent State Golden Flashes. Okay, the team's passing leader, George Ballas and Nick Hawley, have been a not-so-bright spot for the 2-5 Golden Flashes. With a combined 683 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season, this team is just not good. Now, next to the 1-6 Kansas Jayhawks. The team's passing and rushing leaders, Peyton Bender and Khalil Herbert. This team is just not good. They're 1-6. They about have the same amount of interceptions as they do touchdowns. It's just not looking good for the Kansas Jayhawks. Next, the Charlotte 49ers. Hassan Klue and Penny Latte Benny Latte are the passing and rushing leaders for the Charlotte 49ers. This team is 0-7 with 5 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. There's absolutely nothing good going with this team right now.
Thanks, Jaden, and welcome to the crew.
Now we'll send it to one of our new members, Joe Lammers, for the traditional segment.
Hi, this is Joe Lammers bringing you the traditions. What a game by Bayern Munich against my favorite club, SC Freiburg, on Saturday. A great way to celebrate Jupp Heynckes' first win as a new head coach. With this W, Munich comes 3 points closer to Borussia Dortmund, who lost against the most hated club in Germany, RB Leipzig. Oh wait, that's German football. Let's get back to college football. Every year Penn State has a so-called whiteout. It occurs against another big, very good college team, and this week it takes place against 19th-ranked Michigan. Everybody dresses up in white, whether it's a white dress, just a white shirt, white body painting, or white costume. Penn State is not the only college that does these kind of games, but they're especially known for the whiteouts. Wondering how amazing that looks? Here's a picture. The game is starting at 7:30 p.m., so it should look even more impressive during the night. The whiteout better get the Penn State players pumped up because they need a really good day against it to beat the 5-1 Wolverines. Back to you.
Thanks, Joe. Having been to a couple games at Happy Valley, I've experienced the atmosphere there firsthand, and it's really nothing to be rivaled anywhere else. And the whiteout game really just adds to that atmosphere. I wonder if they do whiteout games in the Bundesliga. It is now time for an update on our game of the week. For that, we send it to Evan Fritz and Jordan Roth for more on the Michigan at Penn State game.
Welcome back, college football fans. Thanks for joining us for the Week 8 game of the week. This week we got the undefeated Penn State Lions versus the 5-1 Michigan Wolverines. This week I'm going to be covering the Lions and Jordan Hill will be covering the Wolverines. We're going to dive into the Wolverines first. Go ahead and take us away, Jordan.
Michigan versus Penn State is going to be an exciting game to watch. Michigan likes to try the long ball early, but when it gets tough, they'll give it to running back Karen Kignan, who had 200 yards on 25 carries. Don't forget about quarterback John O'Corn, who had 58 yards passing through 10 through 23 air. But knowing that Penn State has a Heisman candidate, Saquon Barkley, Penn State is going to look to run the ball probably with him. Michigan has to stop the run and watch out for a little pass in the middle of the field that quarterback Tommy Stevens scored on early. So stop Barkley and Nittany Lions, and Michigan will win this ball game. Over to you, Evan.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely have to agree with all that, but I'm going to also have to say that Saquon Barkley this year with 650 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns is looking tough and is also leading the race for the Heisman Trophy. I'm also going to have to say Trace McSwirly, who has 1,600 yards on the season, is also looking real tough, and that's great for the offensive side of the Lions. Now for the defensive side, we have Jason Cabana, who has 40 tackles on the season for the Lions, and that's when it's going to really pull this in for the Lions here. And if they can work good on both sides of the ball, they'll definitely pull out this win against Michigan.
Thanks, guys. Penn State will definitely have some revenge on its mind after the beating it took last year from Michigan. Now we'll talk about some games of interest in our first game of the week, Iowa at Northwestern.
With Wisconsin running away with the Big Ten West, everybody else, including Iowa and Northwestern, are basically fighting for second place. And Iowa will look to slow down Wildcats running back Justin Jackson, who ran for 171 yards last week at Maryland, and in the process set the school rushing record. Iowa is coming off a bye and hoping that their offensive line, who is beat up, is healthy now, so they can protect quarterback Nathan Stanley, who has thrown for 15 touchdowns and just 2 picks this season. Our next game is USC at Notre Dame. What do you have for us on that game, Garrett?
A perfect matchup of ranked teams between number 11 USC and 13 Notre Dame. In this past matchup, USC has won 8 of the last games. Notre Dame is going to have to shut down the passing game and capitalize on the turnover machine named Sam Darnold with 9 interceptions this year. The last week, he threw for 358 yards and 3 touchdowns without giving up a single pick. USC is going to have to stop Notre Dame's ground game. Notre Dame has outrushed each of their last opponents by a per-game margin of 343 to 134. And outrushing opponents by 200 yards is usually a pretty good way to win a game. I'm taking the Irish over USC in this hard-fought game.
And our last game of interest is Iowa State at Texas Tech. The Cyclones head to Lubbock to take on the Red Raiders. Iowa State has been successful on the road this year, winning at Akron and then stunning Oklahoma in Norman 2 weeks ago. Texas Tech will be looking to get back on track after giving up 22 unanswered points in the fourth quarter and losing a tough one at West Virginia last week. Iowa State will have to slow down the air raid attack, as most teams do when they face Texas Tech, as Texas Tech quarterback Nick Shamanak has thrown for over 2,100 yards and 18 TDs already. Now let's send it back to Evan and Jordan for our Who You Got and Upset Picks of the week.
Hello, college football fans, and thanks for joining us for the new segment we got, Who You Got. And this week we're going to have Jordan here pick some teams that he thinks are going to win the matchups. First, we got Indiana versus Michigan State.
I'll have to take Michigan State in this one. They have a lot of confidence after winning the last 2 games, especially versus a top 25 ranked opponent.
All right, how about Louisville versus Florida State?
I'll take Florida State in this one. They're just trying to turn around their bad season.
How about Arizona at California?
I'll take California after they just kicked the crap out of Washington State last game.
How about Syracuse at Miami?
I'll take Syracuse in this one. They have a lot of confidence after being number 2 Clemson Tigers last week.
How about Iowa State at Texas Tech?
I'll take Texas Tech. They have just been a disciplined team all year.
How about USC at Notre Dame?
I'll take Notre Dame in this one. You never know what Coach Kelly's going to bring to the table.
How about Michigan at Penn State?
I'll take Penn State in this one. Shaquan Barkley is just too good for Michigan. Right.
Thank you for joining us here with the upset of the week. Jordan here is going to give us an upset that he thinks may happen this week.
I think Syracuse will beat number 9 this week. I feel confident in Syracuse because they just got done beating number 2 Clemson Tigers last week. That's my upset of the week.
Thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for this pick, guys. We will see how those games unfold this weekend.
That will wrap it up for us this week. For Garrett Thompson, I'm Dave Gilbert, thanking you for watching this week's episode of Extra Points, a production of Delphi Bracketology in coordination with Student Union Sports. Enjoy this weekend's games and come watch us again next week.